Hello everyone, and welcome to my little personal review on the Junji Ito collection anime. This will be part 1 of 2, as the overall video, if I was to include the full thing, would have came to about an hour. Now, because I am trying to cut down a little bit of extra time, I'm uploading up this in 2 parts. So as I said, this will be part 1, and I will be expressing my likes of each episode, my dislikes of each episode, along with a little bit of a synopsis of each episode to kind of just give you a little bit of insight to the story itself. So sit back, relax, and please enjoy. This is my review of Junji Ito's collection episode 1, Shuichi's Convenient Curse and Hell Doll Funeral. Overall, Shuichi's Convenient Curse features mostly about a boy who believes he can perform curses, whereas it was just lucky events. I thought the story was good. I thought the characters was a bit the main character was a bit insufferable, and I wasn't really a big fan of him at all, but I believe that was the point of the story. I believe the animation work was nice, the camera work was good, and sound quality was quite interesting, and you can see often that the character is biting nails, and that kind of the noise that they had somehow been able to create there was really interesting, and not interesting, it was quite a nice piece of audio. It was really kind of like that kind of cringy noise that you hear and makes you want to pull away. It was an interesting piece of work, to be honest. The episode completely subverted my expectations, and I thought someone else was going to be put into some kind of horror situation, which is mostly known for Junji Ito's work. Like, he's known for putting people through body horror situations and stuff like that. Part 2 of this episode was Hell Doll Funeral, as I said, which features it is mostly predominantly about the transformation of a family's daughter from like regular human to doll to horrific monster. It's only 2 minutes long, but you see right off the bat that the daughter has turned into a doll, and then the next time you see her, she's just a little bit different, like cracked and stuff like that. Then the next time she's looking more like decayed, and then after that she's a horrific monster, and the family have decided to put her to rest. Right here, I believe it was a bit short. You could probably have made another full episode out of that, but I believe this episode was it really shows what Junji Ito can do with his work, with body horror and just general horror work there. The episode was amazing for how short it was. So this is episode 2 of the Junji Ito collection review. This episode is Fashion Model and the Long Dream. Fashion Model is predominantly about a group of students, I believe, who are currently looking to cast and get a new cast for their upcoming student movie. The scriptwriter finds a horrifying picture of this weird woman as a fashion model, and then proceeds to have nightmares about her while also having premonitions, saying that his premonitions are never wrong and something bad will happen. Fast forward, they finally get the cast for the movie, and she turns out to be one of the cast members. Even further on, another one of the cast members takes the majority of the limelight in the movie, and the woman, the fashion model, then turns around and eats her. There will be several pictures obviously showing her through this. Overall, I think this is starting to show where the animation quality has started to dip a little bit, and the art quality isn't as good as episode 1. However, it still isn't bad. It's just not amazing. Overall, the story quality for this episode was quite good. I quite liked it. I thought it was really weird, but again, following into the body horror that Junji Ito is predominantly known for. Second part of this, The Long Dream, is about a young girl who's in hospital for an incurable, or not incurable, I don't know that. She's in hospital for a disease, and it features both her and another patient who was admitted to hospital for having unnaturally long dreams. His dreams lasted days at a time originally, and slowly got longer and longer and longer over time, and during this he had started a weird transformation, again like the body horror that Junji Ito is known for. In the end he crystallizes, which is weird, and breaks down, and all that's left is just this crystalline formula that was in his body. And one of the doctors gives it to the other girl in hopes of letting her pass away into a forever dream. Overall, I thought that was it was a really strange story, but an interestingly strange story. I quite enjoyed watching it, and the body horror was interesting. The story was just as good. Artwork and animation quality got quite good here, actually, in my opinion. Much better than the first part. And yeah, I genuinely thought this was one of the better parts of the 4 parts I've seen so far. Episode 3 of the Junji Ito collection review, Boy at the Crossroads and Slug Girl. So The Boy in the Crossroads is predominantly about a fortune teller who only goes around at night time, or after school I believe, and kind of the evening time, in foggy places, telling fortunes to people who are looking to enhance their love life. They'll ask the question, will my love be realised? And he'll go, of course not, or something along those lines, and cause them to commit suicide. The main character, who was the one who originally started this curse in this area, because he had told someone that their love wouldn't be realised, has moved back to the town and fallen in love with a girl who he then found out that the girl who he fell in love with was related to the very first person who died due to the curse, and this causes the boy immense amount of grief, and he decides to break up with her just because he doesn't want to put her through anything. He then gets someone else, one of the girl's friends, attracted to him, and this causes her to ask the same question, and she also commits suicide. So he attempts to go through the fog to stop other girls from doing the same, and in return he finds the bodies of or the spirits of all the other girls, and I believe the curse kind of just relives on from there. So this is a situation where the kind of animation quality has gotten better again, which is strange because it's went up and then down and then back up. The story quality here was quite interesting. I liked the story here. The sound design and the music was interesting. It really emphasised each scene. Overall, I thought this was a good episode, and it led quite nicely on to the next one, which was Slug Girl. Slug Girl was the same situation as episode 1, where it was a very long first part and a very short second part. Slug Girl is predominantly about a girl a nice student who goes to school and stops going to school at one point, and when she stops going to school, one of her friends goes to check up on her and realizes that she has something growing out of her mouth, which is a slug. Our family are dealing with a really bad slug infestation in their back garden, and believe we should use that they should use salt to try and kill the thing. So they put their daughter into a bathtub full of salt, and she sinks underneath the salt to try and get rid of it. Somehow her body shrinks, and the slug still lives, and the slug lives in a back garden for the rest of eternity. So this is the kind of situation where, again, Junji Ito's body horror really gets put into play. You can really see there, because whenever it has been stated, whenever someone gets close to the slug looks at them with grief in her eyes. Again, the design and animation quality has really started to peak again around here. The sound quality was quite interesting, and there wasn't really much else I could say about that episode. It was really short. overall, I quite enjoyed this, and I thought this was a good watch. Episode 4 of the Junji Ito Collection Review, Chevre and Marionette Mansion. So to start, Chevre is about a jade carving that creates holes in the body of someone who touches it, causes them to permanently become cursed, and therefore causes a doctor who works with the curse to come after them, which inevitably ends with the character being killed. This story follows a boy whose grandfather passed away with this same disease, who describes it by he found this jade carving and touched it, and by doing that he got afflicted by the curse. The curse then has started attracting bugs into his body through the holes that formed. It then progresses on with the main character finding out that his next door neighbour has the same curse, and shows one of his friends. The neighbour points towards where the carving was thrown out by the grandfather earlier on, and which is how she got the curse. And the main character's friend finds the carving and goes out and looks for the main character again once he's now been inflicted by the curse. And he explains everything is real, everything happened, everything is going to continue happening, and then gets found dead the day after, only for the main character to find that the neighbour is completely fine. So I found that this episode was particularly uncomfortable to watch. I feel like trypophobia makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable. That's the sensation that causes you, not the sensation, but it's the fear of holes in your skin. And that I hate that. It makes me feel horribly uncomfortable. So like watching this episode particularly didn't make me feel very great. However, the animation quality was quite nice. The drawing quality is amazing. I thought the sound effects for this were particularly interesting, considering there was so much they had to work with, and that the story was well written as well. For part 2 of this, it was Marionette Mansion, which was the story of a travelling family who travelled with marionettes to perform shows. In the family there was a older brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister. The older brother had ran away and started a life for himself, but had taken a marionette. The marionette, because of this, he'd built his own house, had a successful family, all that stuff. But the marionette was controlling them. The house was built specifically for them to be strung up like puppets. So the main character of this, the younger brother, goes to visit his brother after his dad passes away, and finds that everything is just too perfect. His partner thinks he's cheating and goes into the house, only to find out that the puppet that was taken is controlling everything and is killed by the puppet. Once the main character finds the puppet, the main character destroys the puppet, only resulting in everyone else being turned into puppets and being left there as if they were just dolls. This reminds me quite a lot of the second part of the first episode, the doll transformation, only in the fact that like everyone turns into dolls in the end. However, though, I thought this was quite interesting. It was quite an interesting concept. The animation quality for this part was kind of creepy because it was all like nothing was seamless. It was very kind of janky with that. Yeah, sound quality here was quite interesting because you always had to do the clicking of the bones and stuff like that. Yeah, I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was quite good. Overall, not bad. Episode 5 of the Junji Ito Collection Review, the ongoing tale of the Oshikiri Collection and Cloth Teacher. So the ongoing tale of Oshikiri starts with a boy exploring his house. He realises that one of his school friends is now in his house and thinks, how the hell is this going on? It turns out Oshikiri's house is a plane between two dimensions, or multiple dimensions really. It has entrances to many other dimensions, and there are monsters and other beings from other worlds pouring out into this world. Nothing is what it really seems there, and it's really plain and simple as to what happens. It's quite Silent Hill like. I think this is what I found interesting about this episode in particular. Later on in the episode though, he goes back home with one of his friends to show her the house, and she gets taken into this other dimension like right away. So essentially Oshikiri goes into this other dimension and finds that there's another version of him torturing people to make himself taller. Now there's something I noticed specifically in this episode. The monster designs aren't bad, they're not bad designs, but the animation specifically here drops off a lot. I will say here specifically, it's laughable. It's a goddamn joke how bad the animation quality is here. The story qualities in the two stories here that I will talk about in this segment are awful as well. This episode all round has easily been the worst one I've seen so far. I didn't enjoy myself watching this. The designs for Oshikiri are like the only good things that I've seen for the part one. Story was okay, I guess. Music, the sound design was alright. It's really the animation that lets the whole thing down. For part two, the cloth teacher part, we get to see Suichi from episode 1 again, and this time he is running around with puppet versions of what is teacher. It is classroom teacher, which is strange. The animation quality here clearly not helping out well, I guess. As well, later on in the story, another one of his teachers gets turned into a puppet, and and Suichi gets caught in the process of making a third one. It seems like they're all just there made for practical jokes, and they don't really impact the story that much. Again though, animation quality, I can't stress this enough. It destroyed this episode. It ruined this episode. The story quality for part 2 was awful. The art design, pretty bad. Overall, episode 5 was awful, and I easily would say if you're going to watch this, skip this episode. Episode 6 of the Junji Ito collection review, Window Next Door and Gentle Goodbye. So to start, the Window Next Door is set in a little neighbourhood between two houses with a new family that's just moved in. We follow the family, we follow the main character, the son of the family, who seems to have trouble with his neighbour next door. The family, after just moving in, try to introduce themselves to the neighbours. They introduce themselves to one of the neighbours, but the other neighbour doesn't answer the door. The boy then wakes up during the night to find the neighbour next door standing at their window, and they're trying to entice the boy to come over to talk to them. They say that the door's unlocked and they're welcome to come in and just visit them, but there's something not right about the neighbour. The neighbour's rather disfigured and discoloured, scars all over her body kind of thing. It's very strange body horror stuff there. This gets worse each night, with the neighbour getting slowly closer and closer to the boy's window. At one point during the story, the boy tries to warn his parents about it. However, his parents come in and there's no trace of the woman by the window, and there's no trace of her leaving the house at all. Eventually we get to the point where the window is basically touching the other house, and it ends there. what can I say about this episode other than the fact that the animation quality was awful? They cut so many corners this episode, and I feel like that actually took away so much from the story. The story itself is supposed to be quite a creepy one, but I just couldn't really get over the fact that it looked so bad. I mean, it was, as I said in the last part, it was literally laughable. The story itself was okay, I guess, but it felt a bit rushed, so there was a quite bad pacing issues there. Design was okay, I guess. Art wasn't bad, but there's nothing really else I can say about it. The animation quality took away so much from that scene that was supposed to be so big. During part 2, the gentle goodbye part, everything's not quite as it seems. The main character that we follow is a woman who keeps waking up every night to nightmares of her father dying, and she doesn't know what she can do about it. She hopes that one day she would be able to... she marries into a rich family, and the family don't accept her very well. She notices that one of the family's members are very strange looking. They're semi-see-through, and she believes that she sees a ghost. She confronts her husband about this, and he tells her that they're not a ghost, they're not real, they're an after-image. They are a image of them projected through grief during their funeral, and she wishes that once her father passes, she would be able to make the same kind of after-image for him. At the end, it reveals that she too is an after-image, and she died 10 years ago, prior to the story taking place. So this story in particular was really solely based on grief. It didn't feel very horror-based. It felt very out of place for this anime, and I guess in some way it did need to come in to fit some kind of like criteria and take away so much from the horror. I feel like the inclusion of this story was mainly just to take a break from all the horror. The animation here wasn't much. There wasn't much to talk about. The story was kind of nice, but it was one of those just like really slow-paced, slow-dragging stories. Designs were okay. The designs of the ghosts were quite interesting, I guess. But other than that, there's not really much else I can talk about. It wasn't that big. So I am recording this afterwards, after deciding to upload this in 2 parts. So this will be my my final thoughts for the first part, the first 6 episodes. Currently at this point, I was enjoying the story. I thought the story was quite interesting with each of the individual parts. All the stories were unconnected as far as I was aware at this point. However, there was a few stories in here that I did particularly like. There was ones like I really enjoyed Slug Girl. I thought Slug Girl was quite interesting. Long Dream was really good, and I think I quite enjoyed Gentle Goodbye. Sorry, Gentle Goodbye was like the nice feelsy one for all of this. Although I did see noticeable issues with the animation quality consistently through these bits. It wasn't as predominant as later on. The sound designs were quite interesting. The sound design here was quite good. I quite enjoy the sound design here, specifically in these 6 episodes, as it's kind of like, it's not amazing, but at the same time, it's simple enough to work in this kind of environment. Sound isn't the best thing that obviously a manga artist will have to work off. It's really his own art. Junji Ito specifically works so well with body horror and like eldritch horror, stuff to do with like that makes humanity look so small. That kind of stuff can be seen with the what one was it again? Might have been Oshikiri, I'm not too sure, but the one that was based in the house with the other doors. At this point, I would have said the anime was a good 5, maybe 6 out of 10. It was definitely better than the second half, which severely brought down its overall rating. Other than that, I would have said I enjoyed it. Yeah. Not great though. Not amazing, not horrible. So overall, that was my review. Only 6 episodes. I will be releasing the second half of this later on. I mostly did this for a college project, just because I thought I could do something unique instead of just like an animation overdub or something like that. Overall, I had fun watching this, and yeah, I'm quite happy I had the opportunity to do this. But yeah, keep an eye out for part 2, and it will be coming over soon enough. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all another day. Bye bye.